It's getting nice out, so I'm going to pull the Fiat out of storage, which means Blubzki has to move. Did a little bit of shuffling. Probably take it around the block if it fires up, which I imagine it will. Well, I fired it up in the middle of the winter. Fires right up, but man, that transmission, I tell ya. That is a serious racket. This is actually a tow bar for a Miata, or Fiata. And I learned last time I drove this, it doesn't recognize the key after sitting a while, which is super duper dumb. So let's get this thing very slowly and carefully out of this spot. So, opening up the bin of crap that I brought back down here for the IS a while ago. I have a stock 87 IS harness. You can tell the early ones because there's actually no separation in the main harness like there is on a later car. This is the plug you would see for your injectors and your coolant sensors. This one is a one-piece harness. So these are super desirable. Part of 1 year only. This is an 88.5 up, I guess, harness here. This is essentially what I'm going to be using, and I'm going to be using this harness specifically. However, it's missing a few plugs, so that's why I have all of these here as well. I've got a 90 525i harness here, and I've got another late model 91 IX harness here. I'm not going to cut these apart or anything, but I brought them down just so I could trace wire colors and figure out exactly what goes where. In addition to that, actually no, that's pretty much it. My plan today is to get all the new plugs on that, use a lot of contact cleaner, and work those back and forth using this harness here. These all came off of running cars, but I mean, you look in here, there's some corrosion. And these are known to be really, really bad when it comes to that and kind of dropping out. So I'm also going to grab some harness tape and redo some of this stuff. It's just kind of worn out. I feel like it's probably time. Things like the D-ring for the alternator exciter are missing. Oil pressure sender thing is missing. So I'll probably extend this a fair bit using one of the other harnesses as a reference. And I do have brand new 2-pin Delphi plugs. So I'll be able to set that up and make sure it's plugged in. This harness is actually overall in pretty good shape. Good God. This is definitely a later harness. Sorry. It's got a trigger, and this one's the unloader. Nope, that's the trigger. This one's the unloader. So 12 volts to this will trigger the starter, and then this actually grounds when it's cranking to shut off things like the blower motor. It looks like we have O2 sensor, MAF's a big boy. Not sure where that, oh, there it is, AFM, sorry, not MAF. And then one of the ignition coil D-rings is toast as well. So kind of the agenda today, again, is just replacing a lot of this broken, tattered wrapping and putting some new pins on it. Then we'll feed it into the car and get it all wired up. I also will have to reference, where's the interior? Right here. I don't remember which wire offhand. One of these is the tachometer signal. I believe it should be a black wire. But the plugs are a little bit different on the late model. So in hindsight, I probably should have used this 87 harness, but I'm not going to. And I've had no issues in the past making that work. So I'm confident we'll get it going. Like I said, this car had an S50 in it and the tach worked. So I know what pin it's supposed to go into in the car. I just have to find out which one's got the signal, which shouldn't be a big deal. So I'm going to take off some of this tattered crap, get the harness tape ready, get a couple eyelets, get a Delphi plug and some wire, and yeah, we'll get going on it. Fix one of many done. The coil ground is repaired. So I think we're good. Cleaned off the ground points. Again, I redid the ground for the coil. I added an exciter loop for the alternator. I added a new, well, actually brand new plug for the oil pressure with a suitable amount of wire. And I crimped it, heat shrunk it in there. Cleaned up the starter wires a little bit, deoxed the injector connector. I rewrapped most everything that offended me. A couple spots up here that I may still, once it's in the car, we'll see. And then this area is actually inside of the glove box, so I probably won't bother with that, just for troubleshooting. Rewrapped the little harness area, the MAF plug, the main body of the harness right here up by the C101. I think this is ready to dress onto the engine. So there was definitely some issue with this harness, unfortunately. I started cranking and I saw some smoldering coming from the wires right here, which is not what I wanted to see at all. So this harness might have bit the dust. Trying to figure out what wire this was and what purpose it serves. That's too bad. Hopefully I didn't smoke anything important. All right, sit rep. I have the 87 harness draped over top of the engine, plugged in, and I'm not getting power from the DME to the main relay. So unfortunately, I think I smoked the DME I have with this harness. Hopefully that's all the damage I did. I'd really hate if I did something internally to the car, but we'll figure out. After I get the DME working, I have a spare chassis side C101 just for diagnostic, and yeah, if I hook it up to power like it is right now, I get nothing as far as the relays cycling. So the DME, I think, controls the main relay, and I'm not getting any sort of action. When I jump the starter, it comes to life, at least it cranks. But even if I manually jump the power to the main relay over at the DME, no spark, no nothing. So I think, unfortunately, I smoked the DMEs with this harness. It looks like, and I'm not exactly sure, but the wire that was giving me problems was the service interval reset for the cluster, and that was, for some reason, getting power. So not really sure why, but we'll troubleshoot and diagnose and repair that harness a little later. I just want to get the car responding in the meantime. If I do jump power at the DME, I do get the idle air control valve buzzing. I do get relays clicking. So, yeah, not exactly sure what's going on, but I have more DMEs at home, so I'll grab at least a couple more just in case. I wish I had another M20 car to test the computers with, but I don't. So I guess I could pop them open and look for scorch marks, but it'd be a little unfortunate if I ruined a 524 and a 525, because those are the good ones. But I'd rather have ruined DMEs than damage something internally to the car. So I think we're good, but that's all I can do for today. I'm pretty sure the issue lies with the DME. All right, so I've done a little bit more diagnostic. I do have a fresh DME in here from my storage unit. I'm not sure that's the problem. The biggest issue I found with the 87 harness in here doing diagnostic over the engine bay, is the fact that it gets its ignition power not through the C101 but through a green wire in the glove box. So that wasn't hooked up. Traced all the grounds and the power on the DME, and I found that 2 out of the 3 pins didn't have power, wasn't triggering the main relay. So I was able to get that into the car, and I heard it fart a little bit with 3 injectors on it, so I decided to throw the harness completely on it. This thing is open headers. Hopefully it just fires up. Oh, right, I have to hook up the battery. I've learned my lesson, like welding stuff to components, having all this stuff disconnected while I'm working on it. Oddly, oh no, we're good now. Oil pressure, it's not hooked up yet. There's a big vacuum leak. I don't have the line from the valve cover to the throttle body hooked up. So it probably won't run, but it sounds like 6 cylinders. Well, I'll take it for now. I'm going to test all my other DMEs just to see if I broke them. I took one of them apart and there weren't any shit stains on it, so I'm guessing it'll be okay, but I do have to find the line that goes from here to the bottom of the throttle body right now. That is a big unmetered air leak. So anyway, we've heard the 2.7 SuperETA at least make some noise. I've run out of time to look at it today, but I feel a lot better leaving it in this state than I did with this harness. If you guys are doing the same thing I am, if you have an 87 chassis, 88 and up harnesses don't work, as it turns out. The pinout's different on the C101, so completely my fault for not checking that, but some 12 volt was going unfused through that harness, and it smoked a wire all the way from the relays to the C101. So definitely gonna have to work through that just a little bit at some point, just see if I can save that harness, because they are very valuable these days. But yeah, it runs. We've heard it. So that's all the proof I need for today. Come back to it and throw all the cooling system in it, get it over the lift, get the exhaust on it, and then she should be pretty much ready to go. Yay.